not supporting it. Is there anything that could change the district attorney's mind? Is there something, a piece of evidence or a statement or testimony or something, an argument that could change the district attorney's mind about his stance on whether or not to support the resentencing of the Menendez brothers? Well, there's only one way to answer this question. And joining us, the Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, joining us right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here. So it's a simple question. I don't think the answer is so simple, but is there anything that could change your mind and make you rethink the future for the Menendez brothers and support their resentencing and possibility of getting parole?
So, Vinny, thank you very much for having me on. And here's the answer. And you have to understand where resentencing fits amongst the three different tracks that the Menendez case is currently on. The first track is actually a habeas track. This is a motion that they filed in May of 2023, asking for a new trial based on two new pieces of evidence. We submitted an 85-page position to the court analyzing those new pieces of evidence against the legal standard and showing that they did not meet the legal standard to justify a new trial. The second track is a direct clemency petition to the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has a unilateral constitutional power for any reason he decides to commute the Menendez sentences and release them today, tomorrow, or for that matter, any day he's been in office since 2019. Or he can do nothing. The third track is this resentencing. Again, it's a somewhat unique California idea or law that was passed. It said not only are we going to look at the crime that people committed, but we're also going to look at other factors, including rehabilitation. However, the standard is, do the defendants pose an unreasonable risk of danger to society after you do this entire analysis? And Governor Newsom gave us insight into what a full and complete rehabilitation looks like when he denied the parole for Sirhan Sirhan, the assassin of Senator Robert F. Kennedy back in 1968 in Los Angeles, someone who'd been in prison for over 50 years, who's 77 years old and in diminishing health, who was 24 when he committed the crime, and has been in successful rehabilitation programs in prison. In fact, he scores out as the lowest risk score. Yet the governor denied Sirhan Sirhan parole when he said that over the time, he did not exhibit full insight into his actions. So we have taken a similar stance. And when you ask, is there a pathway for the Menendezes, at least as far as the district attorney's office, to recommend resentencing, we actually set that pathway out. We identified 20 lies that they have told, and the primary lies is the first lie of self-defense. They said, in essence, that they shot their parents, shotgunned them to death with 12 different shotgun blasts, staged to look like a mafia hit, including a shotgun blast to the back of their father's head. They shotgun blasted their mother while she lay dying on the floor by reloading their shotgun and putting the gun up to her face and pulling the trigger. They then shotgunned each one of their kneecaps after they were dead to make it look like a mafia hit. What we said is that self-defense, that they said that they did it because they thought their parents was going to shoot them that night, and they did it preemptively, was a complete fabrication. And we analyzed that, again, with over 85 pages of factual and legal argument to show why we believed it was a fabrication. They also suborned perjury from their friends, where they basically said they wanted their friends to say their dad was a violent rapist, that they had gotten a handgun the day before the shootings, which they never got, and that their mother had tried to poison them, which never happened. So we're basically saying, if the Menendez brothers fully and completely, unequivocally and sincerely admit and come clean that they have lied about the self-defense, that they have lied about suborning perjury and attempting to suborn perjury for over 30 years, and finally exhibit the full insights into their criminal conduct, that at that point, we will reconsider whether or not at least the DA's office goes forward on a resentencing and recommends it.
Let me ask you, how does that happen? What form does it take? Would it be in court, under oath, on a witness stand, and you or folks from your office question them and they answer questions? Is it an affidavit? What form would it take for you to change your mind that, hey, they are finally taking responsibility here? How would that work?
So we're open to any suggestion that the Menendez Brothers attorneys have as to how they want to demonstrate an unequivocal and sincere, effectively, admission that they've been lying for over 30 years on this self-defense defense and suborning perjury during their trial. If they want to do it by way of sworn affidavit, if they want to do it by way of sworn testimony, again, the point is to see if they finally can come clean and then do it sincerely and unequivocally. And ultimately, it's not the district attorney that makes that call. It'll be the judge that hears it.
And from your perspective, how do you determine sincerity?
You know, again, if they equivocate, if they say, well, maybe, perhaps, it could have been, that doesn't indicate sincerity. That indicates that they're still trying to tell half the story, admit half the lie. If they fully and completely say, here's why we lied, here's exactly what we did to lie, here's why we continue to lie over the past 30 years, again, that starts to approach the unequivocal and sincere nature that we're looking for as far as an admission that they have lied over the past 30 years.
And have there been any discussions since you've made your position public? Has anyone from their defense team approached you about perhaps trying to make that happen to satisfy what you need to support this resentencing?
No, they have not. The only thing that the defense team has done is go on TV programs to malign the district attorney's office, call us names. And we've basically responded, let's meet in court, let's line up the facts, let's line up the law. That's where our discussion will be held.
And if they did make all these admissions, right, and took full responsibility and came clean in all this, on one hand, right, you look at that on the one hand and it makes them look like, okay, they finally, come to terms with everything. But on the other hand, it makes what they did, the underlying crime, even more evil. Do you see it as from both those perspectives, or do you see it only as a positive for them to make all those concessions and admissions of lies?
Well, as far as the evilness of this crime, the jury already made that decision back in 1995 when it heard this self-defense defense, when it heard about the Menendezes trying to suborn perjury and lies from their girlfriends and friends, and they categorically rejected that self-defense when they found them guilty of first-degree murder with special circumstances, and ultimately they got sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So the evilness is already established by their actions. Now, whether or not they've ever rehabilitated from those actions will be determined in large part on whether or not they finally completely and unequivocally accept responsibility for the full breadth of the lies they have been telling. So if they do that, and they can do it not just, again, to convince the district attorney's office, but to convince the court that will make the decision in the resentencing, then that court will most likely make that resentencing decision in their favor. If they don't do it, then I believe using that precedent of Sirhan, the court should not actually grant resentencing at this point.
And in terms of what's going to happen, they're going to be interviewed, right, by the parole board. Will anything from that investigation impact the way you see anything?
So I don't think it will, and I'll tell you why. The parole board's decision is a risk analysis. We already have that risk analysis that's established in their prison files. It finds them at the lowest risk score, which is a 19. But that's the same risk score that Sirhan was at. It finds their California static risk assessment as low. That's the same low risk assessment that Sirhan had as well. So and it talks about their successful rehabilitation programs in prison and the educational degrees that they've received. The same with Sirhan while he was in prison. So I don't anticipate, quite candidly, any new information coming from this parole risk assessment, but the governor might use it in making his decision on commutation. Again, he's not bound by the facts and the law in the same way we are, the district attorney's office, when we deal with motions, resentencing motions or habeas petitions. He can rule on any reason for anything he wants to do when it comes time for him deciding if he wants to commute the Menendez's sentence and release him today.
Nathan Hochman, I know you are super busy out there in Los Angeles, and we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.